Miss Melissa, and this is Miss Kim,
Hello.
and we would like to welcome you to the Fayette County Public Library Storytime.
Today's first story is Jack and the Animals, which is an Appalachian folktale by Donald Davis. Grandmother lived in a big log house in the mountains. One day she finished her chores early and said to my cousins and me, "Let's go up on the mountain and cook our supper." So we took a frying pan and eggs and bacon and walked back up above where the cows lived. There were gathered sticks, built a fire on a rock, and cooked our supper. When we had eaten, Grandmother told us a story about Jack. One day, Jack left home to seek his fortune. He didn't know that a fortune could be money or a job or even some adventures. He didn't know what a fortune was, but he was looking for it anyway. While he was looking for his fortune, he passed a big barn. From behind the barn, he heard a terrible sound. Moo, 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 hoo, hoo, hoo. And when he looked inside the barn, he was surprised to see a cow crying. "Why are you crying?" Jack asked. "Why, I am so old I don't have any milk left," the cow answered. "Then you should come with me to seek my fortune," Jack said. And the cow came with Jack. Passing by a house later, they heard another terrible sound. Bow, bow, wow, 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 ow, ow, ow. When Jack looked toward the house, he saw a dog crying. "I am so old I can't chase robbers," the dog answered. "Then you should come with us to seek our fortune." And the dog went with Jack and the cow. And as they were passing an apple orchard, they heard another terrible sound. Mew, meow, ow, ow, ow. It came from high up in a tree, and when Jack looked, he saw a cat crying. "Why are you crying?" Jack asked the cat. "I am so old," the cat answered, "that I can't remember how to get down out of this tree." "Then you should come with us to seek our fortune," Jack said. He helped the cat down from the tree, and the cat came with Jack and the cow and the dog. As Jack and his friends passed the hayfield, they heard another terrible sound. Hee-haw, 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 aw, aw, aw. And when Jack looked, he was surprised to see a donkey crying. "Why are you crying?" Jack asked. "Why, I'm so old I can't do any work," the donkey answered. "Then you should come with us to seek our fortune," Jack said. And so the donkey came with Jack and the cow and the dog and the cat. The day was almost over, and still Jack and his friends heard another terrible sound. Cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-oo, ooh, ooh. And the sound came from right on top of the barn they were passing, and when Jack looked up, he saw a rooster crying. "Why are you crying?" Jack asked the rooster. "I am so old that I can't tell if the sun is coming up or going down," the rooster answered. "Then you should come with us to seek our fortune," Jack told the rooster. And so the rooster came with Jack and the cow and the dog and the cat and the donkey. Pretty soon, Jack began to look for a place to spend the night along with his friends. He knocked on the door of a little house, and when no one came to the door, he looked in the window. By candlelight, he could see piles of gold and sacks of money and big bags of jewels. Jack thought, "This must be a robber's hideout." Then he saw a huge table covered with food. Jack and his friends were just about starved, and they could see that whoever had started the meal had left in a hurry, so they decided to go inside and finish the meal. Just as they finished eating, they heard footsteps on the porch. Jack was pretty sure it was the robbers coming home. "Hide, hide," Jack told the animals. While he blew out the candles, all the animals hid. The cat hid in the fireplace where the fire had gone out. The dog hid behind the door. The donkey hid behind the swing on the porch. The cow hid in the bushes in the yard. The rooster hid on top of the house, and Jack hid up in a tree. Pretty good hiding places. One of the robbers came into the house to see why the candles were blown out, while the other robbers waited in the woods. When the robber looked in the fireplace, he thought he saw coals glowing. He blew on them, hoping that the fire would blaze up. And when he did, he blew ashes right in the cat's eyes. The cat screamed and came out of the fireplace, scratching the robber right in the face. As the robber ran out the door, the dog came out and bit him all the way across the porch. The donkey came out from behind the porch swing and kicked him off into the yard. The cow caught him on her horns and tossed him out into the woods. The rooster crowed, "Cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo," and Jack held on to the tree and tried not to fall out from laughing so hard. I think I would have laughed too if I'd have seen all that. The robber ran back to his friends, and they all ran far off into the woods before he told them what had happened. "Our house is full of monsters," he said. "There was a little one in the fireplace with terrible long claws. It tried to claw my eyes out. There was a medium-sized one behind the door with horrible long teeth. It tried to eat me alive. A bigger one with at least 5 legs kicked me off the porch. Then a huge one with horns tossed me in the woods. I got away from the worst one of all, though," he said. "What could be worse than that?" the other robbers asked. "There was a screaming monster on top of the house, and he kept crying, 'Throw him up here too! Throw him up here too!' I don't know what it might have done to me. We can't ever go back." The next day, Jack brought the sheriff to see the robber's house. When the sheriff saw all that Jack had found, he said, "Jack, you have found a fortune." "So that's what a fortune is," said Jack. And for getting rid of the robbers, the sheriff gave Jack and the animals the whole fortune to keep for themselves. And the grandmother said, since they had all that fortune to buy food with, Jack and his friends could be living there still. Do you? There they are off in the distance.
And the grandmother probably sees them, and probably, I think there's one more page where she says, "Look, da-da."
No, well, there's not really one more page.
There should have been
That's kind of a funny story, isn't it?
Jack and the animals.
Jack and the animals.
Well, I guess if he could get through those giants, he could find a fortune.
That's possible.
If he can get through those giants.
Yep.
So are you guys ready to do an activity then? We're going to do either from biggest to smallest or smallest to biggest. So you're going to have to listen to what we asked you to do, okay?
Got my ear wide open.
Good. So we're going to do the jets first. And I want to go from the smallest to the biggest. Can you put those up here?
Good thing I put them in first row. Which one?
All 3 of them. Put them all 3 up here in order.
Smallest to biggest?
Smallest to biggest.
I'm going to do biggest to smallest.
So we have small, bigger, and biggest, right? Okay. Let's do teddy bears next. We're going to go the biggest to the smallest this time.
All right, I think they've got it.
I think so too. How about let's go with some trucks and let's go with bigger to small again.
Big to small. They're kind of in front of each other.
All right.
Okay, and then over here we're going to go with robots from small to big. Trying to trick you guys, aren't I?
You're not tricking us.
Oh,
No, they're too
darn.
smart
They're
for
too
us.
smart.
They knew.
Small to big.
Small. Yeah. Stop. Oh.
Okay. Jack in the Box from bigger to smaller.
Round and round the blueberry bush, the monkey takes the wheel. The monkey stopped to pull up his stalks. Pop goes the weasel.
Good.
Doing.
Good job. Good job. And then we have some wagons. And let's go with bigger to smaller again. And I'm sure you guys could find things at home like this that you could do. And I bet all the kids at home could do the same thing. Thank you.
How about another story?
Yeah.
This is the enormous carrot.
That looked like a folded up umbrella first.
Early one spring, Daisy and Floyd planted seeds in their garden. I like the pictures in this book. They're so bright and colorful. Each day they watered and weeded. Everything grew exactly as they had planned. Then one morning, Daisy and Floyd discovered an enormous carrot growing in the middle of their garden. See the carrot? This carrot is ready to pick, said Floyd. So Floyd tried to pull the carrot out of the ground, but the carrot stayed put. It wouldn't come out. I'll pull it out, said Daisy. Daisy tried to pull the carrot out of the ground, but the carrot stayed put. It wouldn't come out. Then Daisy and Floyd tried together to pull the carrot out of the ground. They tugged and they tugged, but the carrot stayed put. It wouldn't come out.
They have to kind of sucker to suck them up. It would definitely come out.
Just then their friend Mabel came by. Will you help us pull this carrot out? Asked Daisy. Naturally, said Mabel. Don't you like Mabel's dress?
That's not all the dresses. There's a tail sticking out.
So Daisy, Floyd, and Mabel tried together to pull the enormous carrot out of the ground. They heaved and they hooed, but the carrot stayed put. It wouldn't come out. And then their friend Henry came by. Will you help us pull this carrot out? Asked Mabel. Glad to, said Henry. So Daisy, Floyd, Mabel, and Henry tried together to pull the enormous carrot out of the ground. They grunted and they groaned, but the carrot stayed put. It wouldn't come out. Well, then their friend Gloria came by. Will you help us pull this carrot out? Asked Henry. Absolutely, said Gloria. So, there they all are. Daisy, Floyd, Mabel, Henry, and Gloria tried together to pull the enormous carrot out of the ground. They teamed and they towed, but the carrot stayed put. It wouldn't come out. Just then, you guessed it, another friend came by, whose name was Buster. Will you help us pull this carrot out? Asked Gloria. Sure thing, said Buster. So Daisy, Mabel, Henry, Gloria, and Buster tried together to pull the enormous carrot out of the ground. They stretched and they swayed, but the carrot stayed put. It wouldn't come out. Just then, their friend Claire came by. Will you help us pull this carrot out? Asked Buster. I'd be delighted, said Claire.
She declared. She declared.
So Daisy, Floyd, Mabel, Henry, Gloria, Buster, and Claire tried together to pull the enormous carrot out of the ground. They hollered and they hauled, but the carrot stayed put. It wouldn't come out. Just then their friend Lester came by. May I help you pull that carrot out? Asked Lester. Oh, you're much too small, said Claire. Let me try, said Lester.
I know what's gonna happen.
So Daisy, Floyd, Mabel, Henry, Gloria, Buster, Claire, and Lester tried together to pull the enormous carrot out of the ground. They tugged and they tugged, they heaved and they hoed, they grunted and they groaned, they teamed and they towed, they stretched and they swayed, they hollered and they hauled, and all at once, the enormous carrot came out. Look what happened to everybody.
And look, the mouse is out. See? The mouse is out, and he's like, see? I told you.
Yep. Then Daisy, Floyd, Mabel, Henry, Gloria, Buster, Claire, Lester, and all their friends ate every bit of that enormous carrot until it was all gone. That afternoon, Daisy said, I can't wait to see what comes up tomorrow. Neither can I, said Floyd. But first, it's time for an enormous rest.
It's all about an enormous carrot.
An enormous carrot.
And then it's about an enormous thing. Enormous rest.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever planted something and it got really big in your garden? No?
No.
You have to try it sometime.
But we made some, me and my mom made like little tubes and we put like radishes, beans, and carrots in there. It was fun, but they never grew.
It won't be very much longer. We'll be planting gardens
They
again.
grew, but we ate them, but there wasn't any more. If you put like, if you dig a big hole and put so many carrot seeds in it, like all around, and then bury it, it'll make so many carrots, and then you can just pick a handful, 2 handfuls, maybe even 6 handfuls.
Well, you'll have to try that and let us know. How about another story called A Big Quiet House? Now, this is another folk tale, only it's a Yiddish folk tale from Eastern Europe. This one I think is kind of funny. There once was a man whose house was very small. It was cluttered with things from wall to wall. Every day he would say in a miserable way, I need more room. It does look like he's an awfully big man in a quite small house, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the picture. One night, he tossed and turned in his bed. His wife's snoring and his children's giggling annoyed him. He covered his ears and grumbled, There is too much noise. If I had a big, quiet house, I'd be able to sleep. As he lay awake, he thought about the wise old woman who lived at the edge of the village. Perhaps she could solve my problem, he muttered. He threw off his covers, jumped out of bed, and went to seek the wise old woman. He knocked impatiently at her door. She slowly opened it and said, It's the middle of the night. Why are you here? "I can't sleep," complained the man. "My wife snores the whole night through. My children annoy me by giggling too. What is a tired man to do? Can you possibly solve my problem? I need a big, quiet house." The old woman scratched her head. She considered a moment and then she said, "Solve your problem? Yes, I can. But first, I must think of a plan." Her face spread with a smile. "Go home and bring a big red chicken in the house with you," she suggested. "A chicken?" asked the man, a bit bewildered. But he went home and did as she told him to do. She was the wisest woman he knew. He caught his big, red, squawking chicken. He brought her into the kitchen and let her go. The chicken strutted under the table. "How is a chicken going to make my house seem bigger?" he wondered. He went to his room, climbed into his bed, pulled the covers to his chin, and tried to fall asleep. Meanwhile, the big red chicken crept out from under the table, wandered into the children's room, and began noisily pecking the son and daughter. Ba-buck, ba-buck, ba-buck. The wife tumbled with a thump onto the floor and chased the chicken. Feathers were flying, the children were crying, the wife was sighing. Guess what? The man couldn't sleep. He threw off his covers, jumped out of bed, and went to the wise old woman's house. He knocked impatiently at her door. She opened it and said, "It's the middle of the night. Go to sleep." "That's impossible," he moaned. "I brought a big, red, noisy chicken in the house with me. Feathers are flying, my children are crying, my wife is sighing, and I can't sleep. Can you solve my problem? I need a big, quiet house." The old woman said, "Solve your problem? Yes, I can. I just didn't tell you the whole plan." She considered a moment and suggested, "Now go home and bring a goat, a horse, a cow, and a sheep in the house with you." "A goat, a horse, a cow, and a sheep?" the man exclaimed. But he went home and did as she told him to do. She was the wisest woman he knew. He herded a goat, a horse, a cow, and a sheep into his house. Do you think he's going to be able to sleep? Then, climbing clumsily over the animals, he got into his bed, pulled the covers to his chin, and tried to fall asleep. The sheep began to loudly sing, "Baa." The goat chimed in with a lovely "Maa." The cow joined in with a melodious "Moo." And the horse snorted and grandly sang too, "Neigh, neigh, neigh." The singing and snorting woke the big red chicken, who wandered into the children's room and began noisily pecking the son and daughter. Ba-buck, ba-buck, ba-buck. Well, the wife tumbled out of the bed with a thump onto the floor and chased the chicken again. Feathers were flying, the children were crying, the wife was sighing, and the man couldn't sleep.
Again.
What do you think he'll do now?
Yeah, I think she's trying to make him do so much work that he'll just get so tired from doing all the work he'll just pass out.
Oh, you know, that's a very good idea there.
I think that's what the wise old woman's trying to make him do.
Okay. Well, of course, he threw off his covers, jumped out of bed, climbed over the animals, and went to the wise old woman's house.
Again. Oh, yeah.
He knocked loudly on her door. She opened it and yawned. You know what she said, right? "It's the middle of the night. Go to sleep." "That's impossible," the man shouted. "How can I sleep with a chicken, a goat, a horse, a cow, and a sheep? There is no room to walk in my house anymore. And animals are everywhere, from the wall to the door. It's even noisier than before. My children are crying, my wife is sighing, and I can't sleep. You said you could solve my problem. I need a big, quiet house." The old woman replied, "Solve your problem? Yes, I can. I just didn't tell you the whole plan. Now, put all the animals back where they belong." "Good idea!" exclaimed the man. Do you know what her plan was yet? You still think he's just so exhausted that he's going to sleep now?
Yeah, I think she's just going to make him so exhausted. He's just going
Just fall off to sleep.
He's just going to like...
Any other ideas? How about you?
Not me.
Not you? Well, he went home, gathered the animals, and herded them all into the barn. Then he returned to his house and opened the door. What do you think he found?
A bigger
To his amazement, his house was not small anymore.
He shrank.
He stared with wonder at the rooms. Now that all the animals were gone, his house seemed so empty, it looked remarkably bigger. He climbed into his bed and pulled the covers up to his chin. Without the singing and snorting of the animals in the next room, his house was so quiet he could hear the gentle snoring of his dear wife beside him. He heard his children giggling too. These ordinary sounds were no longer noise. They were music to his ears. He smiled and thought, "What a big, quiet house! Next time I moan the whole day long complaining about what is going wrong, I will stop and count my blessings first. You know, it could always be worse." And with a sigh, he fell asleep. The end. So was his house really bigger? No, it just seemed bigger because all the animals were gone.
That was her plan. She wanted She wanted all of the animals. Like this is his house. Only that part's cut off, so it only has that much room.
Okay.
Good plan.
And then he takes all the animals.
Okay.
And then they're like all
Can-
over the place.
Can we guess what the concept this month was? It's all about big and small, isn't it? And I think there's some great ways for you guys and kids at home to learn about big and small. Just look around your house, put things in order from the biggest to smallest. When you're out driving around, look at the cars and pick out which is the bigger car, which is the smaller car. Well, we'd like to thank you for joining us for the Fayette County Public Library Storytime, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.